All right. Hello, all, and thank you for joining us this evening for ANC3C's June 2024 public meeting. We will get started with a call to order and a calling of the quorum. So I am ANC3C03 and I am present, ANC3C04.
Present.
ANC3C05 has informed me that he will be absent. ANC3C06, Commissioner Gordon is likely on her way and will be joining us shortly, but is not here as of yet. 3C07.
Present.
Right? 3C08 doesn't appear to have arrived yet. 3C01.
Present.
And 3C02.
Present.
All right, with that, a quorum is present at this time with 5 of our 8 commissioners being here. We will move on to the verification of notice. I will verify that the listservs, the Tenants Association listservs and all of that, the Cleveland Park Main Streets, Woodley Park Main Streets, the Citizens Associations, the ANC3C notice listserv, our Twitter, and our website were all verified of this meeting in an appropriate, timely manner. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda and the consent calendar. The only item that we have on the consent calendar this evening is the approval of the May 2024 meeting minutes. With the approval of the agenda and the consent calendar, obviously the approval of those minutes would happen. Does anyone have any changes to our agenda this evening? Are there any objections to approving the agenda and the consent calendar? All right, hearing and seeing none, we will carry on to announcements. So we will start with single member district reports. While everyone clamors to give a single member district report, as they always do. I just wanted to report out on a few probably not just single member things, definitely not just my single member district, but some items that affect a number of folks. So just a reminder, the WMATA Better Bus Network comments are due July 14th or 15th. So you can go to their website, which I will put in the chat now, and peruse around and give your input in a variety of different ways. So that is available for everyone to comment on. I would like to also, I went to the DDOT ANC open house this past Saturday, where basically every agency within DDOT, which there are about 49, all were there to, answer questions, provide information and whatnot to the ANCs who attended that meeting in person. The first update I'd like to give is on the Taft Bridge lights. As I think we updated a few months ago, we were getting a lot of questions about why the Taft Bridge lights were on 24/7. They had been going out in the evening, and it was because of seriously burnt out electrical wiring. So they went and fixed that, and then had no ability to switch them on and off throughout the day. So they just left them on because they knew that they were going to be coming through as part of the smart streetlights improvement project. And they said about May, they would be doing that, and that would resolve the lights being on 24/7. Well, they gave me an update on Saturday that within the next 20 days, they will be out there to fix the lights on the bridge as part of that program. What happened was when they got out there, they realized that the globe lights are not mounted on top of the poles like every other place, essentially, in the District of Columbia. They're lighted underneath. So they needed to come up with a unique engineering solution, essentially, and that's kind of all that's left with the project is the one-offs that weren't typical of the condition that they found throughout the rest of the District of Columbia. So they're aware. Hopefully they will give me an update in the next week or just do the project. So that's what happened there, and that's why that was delayed a bit. And just in case anybody's asking, that's what's going on. Another update from the urban forestry group that sits within DDOT. They will be within the next week resolving the issue with the Cleveland Park Promenade new trees that were planted and not having tree gators on those new trees. So the tree gators are those green water holding things. So the contractor was supposed to provide them on newly planted trees. Seemingly this was an oversight on their part, and they will get them out there. Hopefully they promised me this week. The only thing is that and this is a condition that exists throughout the District of Columbia, is that community members and neighbors are asked to fill the water bags, and you need about 20 gallons of water a week in each of these bags for the new tree to thrive. So hopefully we can get some folks that are willing and able to do that. If people need buckets, potentially the ANC can look into purchasing those buckets and providing them to adjacent businesses. Oh, Cassandra's telling me that they have long hoses we can use too. So that's awesome. So the bags will be there. And then it's being asked to once a week, or we'll get more details on how often you have to fill them. I have like a little pamphlet that they handed me too. But it was a relatively easy fix once I knew who to go to fix it. So there's that. The other thing that's probably more specific to my SMD is flex posts were installed on Connecticut Avenue between 3100 and 3000 Connecticut to really cut down on the really dangerous U-turns that folks were making, especially when they were making them into the crosswalk at the zoo and potentially into people. So the behavior that I've noticed out there has significantly improved since those were installed overnight last Saturday night and Sunday morning. They were just there. I was not notified that they were going to be doing this. So my thrilled surprise, and I almost went up and hugged all my little babies out there. They're all still standing after 1 week. I'm actually impressed. So and then I did ask some of the folks at DDOT about potentially getting a temporary raised crosswalk condition at that zoo crosswalk, because cars still are not stopping or sometimes slowing down to get through that crosswalk, and it's really scary out there. I'm sorry to compromise all this time, but I did have a lot of updates. From MPD on Thursday, May 30th, I got a note from the MPD captain, or one of the lieutenants, that their traffic enforcement person wrote 8 notice of infractions for tour buses. They get a $1,000 fine each. 3 were Montgomery County school buses, who should really know better, and 5 were charter buses, private charter buses, who all of them have also been informed by the zoo that this is not tenable behavior. So they said that they were going to be out there the next day. I have not gotten subsequent reports, nor do I expect to get reports daily from MPD on how many people are catching, because apparently it's a pretty significant number. So that's kind of all I have for me, and I'm happy to answer any commissioners' questions on any of the updates I gave. And then if any other commissioner would like to give a single member district report at this time, please, raise your virtual hand or speak up. Commissioner Prinzo.
Thank you. I just have 2 quick statements about just some things that are going on. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Nicola Green, who was the longest serving property manager in 3CO2. She has decided to leave and move on to a new career in Virginia, so we do wish her well. And lastly, as you all may or may not know, about a year ago, we passed a resolution congratulating Jude Mabonnet of ANC3CO2 on being named Miss District of Columbia. She's entering her last 2 weeks as Miss DC 2023. So we'd like to thank her for her service to the district. We also passed, she actually came, I think it was December, to speak to us on cardiac health in the District of Columbia and has testified before council on passing better regulations surrounding cardiac health for high school athletes, which is still waiting for a vote in council. But we would like to thank her and congratulate her on her remarkable year as Miss DC 2023.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Geis.
Sure. Yeah, just a few quick updates. Earlier today, the Duke Ellington Bridge was closed because they're repaving the road in between, on Calvert Street, in between Woodley Place and Connecticut Ave. If you've seen the movie Cars, it should look familiar because the pavement is brand new. I think they're done. It looks fine now, so that's well and good. And we like that. Over the next month, or over the past month, I've been meeting with some stakeholders regarding the rat issue, and we should have a letter circulating by the next meeting, hopefully. I'm gonna send that through committee in due time. Very cool stuff. Can't complain about that. Another thing I'm personally planning to do is do a walk of the area, maybe put in some 311 requests for like trash cans and stuff like that. Other than that, I don't have anything to point out at this time, but yeah, that's it.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Kripke.
Thank you. Just a quick elaboration on Commissioner Paggett's mention of the Better Bus. One of my pet issues in the last year has been trying to save the 96 bus, which runs right through Woodley Park, and in particular right through my SMD. And the Better Bus, we were quite worried that WMATA was going to cancel this bus route, but they have actually saved it, or a version of it that will serve most of the purposes that we want in terms of accessing Tenleytown and then accessing across the bridge. So it's actually quite a great thing for our neighborhood. I leave aside other critiques of the Better Bus program, but for our little neighborhood, I think it's really good. And I want to encourage neighbors to comment on the Better Bus plan. I'll be sending out a message to neighbors to encourage them to do that. It's been renamed the C55 under the new plan, so the 96 will now be the C55, but it's basically intact, and I'm super happy about it. So that's the thing I just wanted to mention about for my SMD.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Nash.
Thanks very much. I wanted to mention that I had received several constituent communications regarding the new policy at Giant Food, which lies just to the west of my SMD and a place where a number of residents in our ANC area shop. And these constituents had raised concerns about a new policy on checking large bags, including backpacks at the store. So I had a conversation with a longtime Giant manager, and I have to say it was eye-opening. We're pretty familiar with challenges that smaller retailers, including those on Connecticut Avenue, have been facing. But those challenges, and maybe in slightly different form, also extend to some of our larger businesses, and also on Wisconsin, which is an important commercial area for our ANC as well. And it was interesting to hear his perspective, including, what has worked, what the increased focus of MPD has been to date, where there are gaps. And this gets into a public service announcement for the Public Safety Committee meeting that Commissioner Prinzo and I co-chair, and we'll be meeting next on July 11th. But what we plan to do is have several retail managers, hopefully including the Giant, someone from Woodley Park and Cleveland Park, come and give us an update on what is working well, what is working better. And we'll have the police there as well. So I think it should be a good session. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else have any SMD reports? All right, seeing none, we will move on to committee reports. I will be giving the Safe, Sustainable, and Equitable Transportation committee report. So we had a meeting regarding the updated concept for Connecticut Avenue. At our next meeting, we will be discussing next steps for a resolution regarding community engagement. We'll also discuss advocating for EV chargers for the neighborhood as suggested by Commissioner Kripke. The next meeting will be Wednesday, July 10th at 7 p.m. Okay, the Transparency and Public Process Committee, anything from you? I can't see you, so.
No, sorry. I thought I got muted.
Community engagement and grants.
No update from me.
Okay, planning, zoning, housing, and economic development.
I don't have an update.
Okay. Well, our next meeting, if we need to have one, would be July 1st. We do know, just not that we had a committee meeting this past month, but we do know that this month the DDOT Public Space Commission, whatever group approves the sidewalk cafe permits. We'll be taking up hopefully a few number of the applications that have been submitted on the Cleveland Park Promenade. The other thing is we might need to hold that meeting just to discuss the ABRA or whatever it's called now, Alcohol Beverage Cannabis Administration's the endorsements for their liquor licenses that they'll need to get for the sidewalk cafes, and they should be running concurrently through that process, but I'm seeing that seems to might have been not communicated to them. So we'll address that potentially then. So I'm glad that those are all moving along, and apparently it is on average a 2-month process to go through the public space committee permits, because I also talked to them at the DDOT open house. It's very productive for me in our area.
Thank you.
Okay, residential historic preservation, any updates there?
No updates from me. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Environmental justice.
We did not meet this month, and the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 9th.
Great, thank you. Public safety.
I can go. As Commissioner Nash, we're looking to have a meeting July 11th at 7 on Zoom. As he said, we're looking to possibly get 2 or 3 business owners or managers to come to our meeting and have a discussion about public safety in our commercial corridors.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to mayor, council, agency, and community organizations, starting with the mayor's office. Matthew, what do you got for us this evening?
Hello, everyone. This is Matthew, Matthew Barclay with Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. Janelle will drop my information in the chat, so if you ever need anything, please reach out. This week is going to be hot. On Friday, the district's huge emergency plan was activated for the first time this summer. With extreme heat in the forecast throughout next week, please stay safe and cool and encourage people to call the shelter hotline by dialing 311 to request free transportation to a cooling center. So if there are any unhoused neighbors, please get them in contact with that. I'll put in the chat, Janelle, can you put in the chat heat.dc.gov to find a map of all the cooling centers and all the resources for extreme heat that we have. Also, spray parks will start weekday operations 1 week early. So today, instead of next week. And this is due to the heat emergency. So please reach out if you're in need of anything. Heat.dc.gov. Also, since today is the last day of school, last week Mayor Bowser highlighted the resources available to families over the summer at the summer readiness launch. And you can go to summer.dc.gov to see everything there. That's all I have. Also, I believe this will be my last ANC meeting with ANC3C, and you'll have more new mokers coming in soon, and I'll be sure to update them on everything that you guys care about and introduce you guys. So thank you.
Matthew, you're always welcome to continue to join us at your leisure and enjoyment.
Thank you, Matthew.
I'm thinking about moving to
Leisure
Williamsburg.
and enjoyment. Oh, never thought about running for ANC? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I
You
hear
should.
there's some new buildings coming online in Woodley Park. But yeah, we really appreciate everything you do, even though we sometimes give you a hard time. But
All
you're
as well.
sport about it.
That's my job.
Thank you.
Cool. I had a serious question though about the splash parks.
Yes.
Are those being updated as they seem to, a lot of them, be going down?
They are, some of them in Ward 3 are in the pipeline to be fixed, or not fixed, modernized, I guess you could call it.
Not modernized. It's like some of these splash parks like say that they're working and like available on the website, but then people are going there and then they're like not on. They're not working.
I don't know if this is the thing, but I was looking today on the parks site and it looks like almost all of them are down for like maintenance 1 day a week. So I wonder if the day is happening.
I'd have to get back to you on that. It's my understanding that they're supposed to be on all week.
Okay. Yeah, I was just heard
And
things from other wards that are.
you can call the park ranger number, which I have here, if they're not on. 1 second. DPR Park Rangers, 202-441-0605. And the part, they should be open from splash park hours. I think it's 9 to 8.
Okay, well, that's probably on the website too. Cool.
Oh, 10 to 6, sorry. 10 to 6. So if they're not on in that time frame, you can call the park rangers and or me and submit a 301 request.
Cool. Great. Thank you. All right. Appreciate you. Moving on to Lauren from DC, Councilmember Matt Fruman's office. Go ahead.
Hi, how's everybody tonight? I guess the big news is about the budget. Last week, the council held the second and final vote on the numbers portion of the budget, also known as the Local Budget Act. And on the June 25th, they'll hold the last vote on the policies that support the budget, so the Budget Support Act. As we all know, this was a particularly challenging budget year, given the slowing revenue growth, the end of federal pandemic relief funding, inflationary pressures, and WMATA's acute financial needs that the city is trying to address. But Councilmember Fruman is proud of what he and his colleagues were able to achieve for Ward 3 and the city. So just a few examples, and I have shared the most recent newsletter link for Janelle to put in the chat because it gives a deeper overview of what was accomplished in this budget. But the budget now fully meets the needs of schools in the Jackson, Reed, and MacArthur feeder patterns, and increased funding to complete the modernization of MacArthur High School, reversed dangerous cuts to funding for early childhood educators and pre-K programs. So that, from a number I heard today, was that it saves about 500 spots in Ward 3. Funded sustainable, affordable housing development and green job creation and gave modest increases in funding to senior villages and DC Main Street programs, all of which heavily support our local businesses and seniors in the area. So hopefully that link can be shared. Coming up on June 27th.
Sorry, I shared all the links that you sent with everyone.
Fantastic.
So
Thank you. Oh, I'm seeing that now. Thank you. June 27th. So what's that? Next Thursday, we have our next workday in the ward, and we will be at the deck or on the deck, excuse me, at Glover Park Grill from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And Councilmember Pagets, I have shared your feedback, and Ashley may have reached out as well. She was going to see if you could get it in writing so we can pass that on to Lee Catherine Miles for her consideration. Let's see. So we have actually a pretty good group of people who are going to join us that day. So if you've never been to a work day in the ward, it's an opportunity not just to meet with the council member and others from our office, but representatives from other agencies as well. So we have reps from NPD, Department of Transportation, DPR, Department of Buildings, and others. And so that link has been shared that gives a little bit more insight into who will be there and at what time. So you can cater your day around that if you have flexibility. Don't forget that trash and recycling collection slides this week. So if you have questions about that, head to the DPW website. And if you have any other questions, just make sure you sign up for our newsletter. We'll have our next one coming out next week.
great. Thank you. And just for the record, my feedback that is being requested in writing is regarding how workday in the ward is during work days. And
yeah, greater flexibility around the time of day, day of week, whatever it is that you think for your constituents would be most advantageous to be able to access the council member in our office.
great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All righty. Any other district agencies here that wish to speak? Speak now or forever, or at least till next month, hold your peace. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to community organizations. Anyone wishing to speak? Cassandra, you want to go ahead?
Thank you very much, Janelle. First, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who came to Cleveland Park Day, and a special thank you to Janelle, Swallow, and Matthew, who braved the dunk tank. I really appreciate that. It was our biggest turnout ever with about 1,000 people. We've got some fun events coming up next week. On Tuesday at Paragon High, starting at 5:30 p.m., we have Stitch and Sip. So this is a perfect event for introverts. You don't have to know how to stitch. It can be any kind of stitch. Just pop in, people can teach you. Thursday, next Thursday, the 27th, we're having our second night market on the promenade. And flogging, that's picking up litter, is twice a month, the first Saturday of the month at 8 a.m. and the third Saturday of the month at 3:30 p.m. Both groups meet at the corner of Porter and Connecticut, 30 minutes, just a little blitz. And we are right now started planning for Art All Night. Our theme is Cleveland Park Curiosities. So think kind of weird circus show themes. So if you know anybody who like lays on a bed of nails, or a drag king, or a bearded lady, send them my way, please. Oh, and Cleveland Park is going to participate on Friday, September 27th. So, and that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Prinzo.
I just wanted to quickly just give a shout out to Cassandra and Olivia for managing to put together Cleveland Park Day, because I have never seen as many people in Cleveland Park, around Cleveland Park, doing things in Cleveland Park, existing and having fun in Cleveland Park since I think I moved here 8 years ago. So a huge congratulations to you. It was really a great day, and you had great weather.
We had perfect weather. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Adam. Thank you.
Cool. All right. I don't see Robert here from the Main Street of Woodley Park. Okay. So any other community associations here to give update? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to the community forum. So where members of the public are invited to ask questions and raise concerns about issues that are not otherwise on the agenda. Please limit your time to 1 or 2 minutes. Does anyone have anything they would like to bring up at this portion of the meeting? Please raise your virtual hand. Come on camera, raise your real hand. Anyone? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to commission business. The first item on commission business is a letter regarding 3C's comments on Council Bill 25-0827, the Pets and Housing Amendment Act of 2024 that was put forth by Councilmember Robert White and Commissioner Prinzo. I will allow you to introduce and then make the motion and get a second and then open for discussion.
Thank you, Chair Pagets. So this is a bill on comments about the Pets and Housing Act, which is being offered by Robert White. A quick rundown on that bill is that it will limit it will limit pet security deposits to $300 and doesn't allow people to exceed an additional $25 a month charge in pet rent. It makes security deposits refundable for people who are low income. It levels the playing field for breeds. So each breed of dog or cat or reptile or whatever, will pay the same amount a month or a year in rent. And it also will require the Department of Human Services to open a shelter that is welcoming of pets. We are submitting comments to the record. Anybody that knows me knows that I would probably die without the existence of my dog Aggie. So we are submitting comments to the record that we are in support of this bill. We do ask for either 2 suggestions. And I want to thank Kathy Gibbons from the Kennedy Warren for also helping provide some input on this. They and a lot of other buildings in our area require just an annual pet fee. So you don't pay extra a month and you pay your security deposit and whatever would be your monthly pet rent up front. I think that is something that should be looked into, because why not just pay everything up front when you don't have to pay it every month? And also we are looking for possibly adding an aggressive breed or an aggressive pet fee for pets that have a documentation of history of aggression when they are not handled properly by their owners. And with that, I would like to move that.
Second.
Great. Thank
Is,
you.
is it possible to make any comments?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We're going to start with commissioners and then definitely you, Kathy, since you were co-author on it.
Great. Okay.
So let's and one, I want to thank Commissioner Prinzo and our committee member Kathy Gibbons for bringing this up and authoring it. And then Commissioner Geis had her hand up first, so over to you.
Thank you, Chair Pagets. I want to take a moment to commend Commissioner Prinzo. He has been a huge advocate for pets in the district and in the neighborhood. In my time being involved in all this, and he's been a tireless advocate and constantly thinking about everyone's family members throughout all of this. So I can't just say thank you enough for your work on this. Completely incredibly necessary bill. I know my building, I think, only allows cats, and I think there's pet rent of like $200 a month or something. It's like ridiculous. So I don't have a cat for that reason. Would love for this to pass. And I think that our commission should pass this letter. Thank you, both Kathy and Commissioner Prinzo for your work on this.
Commissioner McCorson.
Hi, thank you. And thank you to Commissioner Prinzo and committee member Gibbons for writing this letter, which I support. I just wanted to ask about the point on aggressive pet fees. I'm just curious in learning a little bit more about the background on that. But I don't quite understand, like, what purpose does the fee serve if the animal is a potential danger to neighbors or the
So,
community?
currently you're allowed to charge different fees based on a breed. It's mainly tailored towards dogs, and they tend to be towards pit bulls. A pit bull is a very broad definition of what a dog may or may not be, and also it only takes one veterinarian to say that a dog is a pit bull. In fact, I think there's a dog in my building that's like looks like a golden retriever, but is technically labeled as a golden retriever pit bull mix. So the district currently allows for difference in breeding for fees. So a way to kind of mitigate that would be allowing a fee for if you rescue a dog from the Humane Society, they will tell you like this has the tendency to be slightly aggressive or it has a documented history of aggression. I know when I rescued Aggie, they told me that she was not aggressive, which kind of funny looking back on it, but she does have slightly aggressive tendencies at times. But I think it's just a way to enforce good pet parenting behavior, knowing that you cannot just, if you have a pet that is considered aggressive by a veterinarian or the Humane Society or Humane Alliance, that it will entice better pet parenting and hopefully the owners will be a little less loose with their pet. Because I've seen some instances where pets owners are a little loose and it can be a little frightening.
Okay, so just to clarify, so that's kind of like a disincentive to getting a more aggressive animal.
I mean, sure. I think it's more, I could view it more as a way to hopefully entice people to be better with their pets.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other commissioners have comments, question? I just want to say that I know I've been hearing from a number of the residents in my SMD, which obviously includes Kathy's building, that these pet rents are getting pretty ridiculously expensive, especially like if you have one cat, it doesn't, like two cats aren't going to change how much they're going to have to change the carpet after the first cat, right? So I don't know. There's that. But with that, we'll open it up to members of the public, and with the committee member going first. So Kathy, take it away. And thank you again.
Gosh, I mean, there's nothing like being thanked for doing like nothing. Adam is so kind and gracious. I didn't do anything except basically share what the policy is here in our building. And at the at this building, we've got like 400 units. My guess is we've probably got minimum 35% with dogs or cats, predominantly dogs. We have a tremendous support for animals here and always have. So many of the buildings going up and down just don't allow animals, period. But the way that the bill is crafted is substantially different from the way that that the fees are handled here. We don't have actually an annual fee at all, nor do we have any form of monthly fee. We have a one and done. And the one and done is, I mean, I have to look because I'm actually one of the ones who does not have a dog or a cat. But the one and done is $1,000 for a dog 20 pounds or less, 1,500 for a dog 21 to 40 pounds. That's supposed to be the lid on it, but I mean, there are plenty of dogs walking around that nobody's putting them on a scale, I can tell you that. And cats, yeah, seriously, cats, it's 300. And the pet fees are per pet, one-time payment only, max 2 pets per apartment. And breed restrictions do apply. And the breed restrictions are in fact for the benefit of residents, they're also for the benefit of the dogs. Because although it used to be the case here that people had to transport their dogs out when they're on the carpet in something like a carriage or carry them or something like this, that has not been enforced in years. And basically when people tried to get it enforced, they were told, like, it's a loser, forget it. You know, you're not going to get that to happen. But because the dogs are supposed to be leashed, but are not always even leashed inside, you know, the breed restrictions are viewed as being in part for the animals themselves. And once in a while, there is a scuffle in the lobby, you know, between a couple of dogs. I don't know as I've ever heard of any dog being hurt literally by another dog here on the property somewhere. But I think that what the bill envisions, which is this, you know, it's basically you can have a security deposit. It's really quite a limited security deposit. And you know, it's refunded, you know, unless you can show some sort of damage. That's obviously way real different than what we have. So the question with a bill like this that goes into effect, you know, immediately upon all the reviews that are required is what does that do to people who have paid their $1,000 10 years ago? You know, people who have paid their $1,000 or 15 or whatever this year. Are they entitled to, you know, get money back? Are they subject to having a $25 per pet fee charged? Is the $25 per pet or is it per apartment? There are things like that that are just not really clear at all. But another thing before, you know, even I don't imagine, you know, Adam knows how to answer every one of these questions, but I wonder, is this bill really expected to go anywhere? Does anybody know that?
I had it on the Committee of Housing, like in September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But I
I
just meant, you know, do people think the council is going to act on the bill? I mean, maybe I don't know if the person you know, Laura is, you know, or Lauren's still here. I guess Lauren's not still here, but I was thinking, yeah,
And
Lauren's there.
wanted
I
to
don't know.
make
I
a
thought
comment
yeah,
generally,
it's what,
and then maybe can
it's
answer your
worth-
question too.
yeah, because it's Committee on Housing, and I know that Matt's on the Committee on Housing.
So Lauren, if you want to make your comment generally and or answer.
Sure. Let me answer that. And I'm I'm going to answer it not in my position as Director of Constituent Services, because I actually don't have an answer to that from a council perspective. However, as someone who worked in animal sheltering for over a decade, and for the Humane Rescue Alliance for over 6 years, including overseeing adoptions, and probably the contract they're using now is the same one that I wrote back in the day, but I can bet that there will be a lot of opposition, and that certainly in its current form, and I mean opposition from constituents. I have no inkling as to how council thinks about it, but I think I was surprised to see it introduced as someone with an animal welfare background, that something like this would get that level of presentation, because it has not been traditionally a what's the word I'm looking for? Popular issue. I tried to start a pilot project in DC, God, like 6 years ago, that would have looked at how to incentivize property management companies to remove barriers to pet ownership and remove breed restrictions. And there's little to no incentive for a large number of property management companies to do anything that this bill is suggesting, because they're not at a lack of potential tenants to rent their units. And then if you look at luxury apartment buildings in the area, they are actually trying to incentivize pet owners to come to their buildings and using pet ownership as an incentive and pet perks and all of that, with the high costs that come along with it. But presumably for those luxury apartment buildings, there's nothing that I've read that indicates that the high pet deposits or monthly pet rents are barriers to pet ownership in buildings like that. So the buildings that really and the pet owners for whom these fees really become a barrier are those in rent subsidized, more lower rent buildings, possibly older, not luxury, where property managers are already easily renting their units because there's high demand for the lower rents charged for these non-luxury units. So I think there's a lot there to suss out. I have to say that I don't know what council members are thinking about this, but having looked into this from the animal welfare side of things, this was a surprise when I saw this come up. And so generally, my only comment on the resolution, I love that there's support for it because obviously I support the bill personally. I think it gets really tricky when you start, it makes it very easy to discriminate based on breed when you have language that speaks to pets that have documented history of aggressive behavior. And I think it would be more prudent to be specific about if this really is intended to get at like pet owners who are not controlling their animals, either by leash or with a muzzle. Like by all means, I support muzzling for animals for whom that's helpful. I think the language can be improved to help focus it more on the owner behavior as opposed to the animal behavior, because there are, first of all, the Humane Rescue Alliance is not going to knowingly adopt out an aggressive animal. Also, the most aggressive, the animals with that send the highest number of animal or people to the hospital, that have the highest number of bite incidences, are actually dogs like golden retrievers, Labradors, and your traditional family animals. And they are not gotten adopted from a shelter. So however the language can be written to address that, what an aggressive behavior is, would be very helpful.
So sure. But also larger breeds tend to not be a multifamily building. Speaking, there's not a lot in my building. There are some, but it's not the large majority of them. But
I mean dachshunds too, but that wasn't my point. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that I meant large breeds, because I didn't, but I take your point.
And the other thing is, I think that, well, at least my interpretation of what's being written here, like it's housing. It's not luxury or affordable housing. It's just housing, and this is somebody's member of their family, right? And I think where Councilmember Robert White is coming from is he doesn't want people to feel like they should have to based on like their life something might happen, like especially with the shelter part of the bill, right, where they have to give up not only their home but also a member of their family. And I think that's and sure, the language can be changed and stuff, but there is obviously,
yeah, I wasn't commenting on the bill, I'm sorry, I was responding just distinctly to that one bullet on the resolution. I don't have any commentary on the bill. I was just speaking to the resolution, that I think it's fantastic to try to move away from aggressive. I think it's great. The aggressive pet fee idea is great. I was just bringing up how maybe that could be worded, because as another note, there is a dangerous dog statute in the district that technically defines what dangerous is. And so it might be worth also looking at that if you're going to speak to it. That's it. I did not mean to comment on the bill and I apologize. I actually have a huge background in keeping pets in homes, so very familiar with that issue.
Great.
So,
Well, thank you. Kathy.
Yeah, just to land what I was starting to say before, I think that you know, the comments that we have are perfectly reasonable. The bill obviously is well intended and intended to be, you know, tenant protective. But I think that it needs to look to how this would affect existing contracts, existing leases. And what this would do to create an incentive or a disincentive to opening buildings to pets at all. I mean, there's nothing in this bill, at least as far as I could tell, that says, you know, people who are renting units need to allow pets. So at some point, you know, if you know that there is damage that comes with having animals, you know, in the buildings, in the hallways, and you know, all this stuff. It's not extensive, but exists. And so I think that that they do need to give that some thought. And I think that you know, a paragraph that just kind of says you got some other stuff to think about would probably be, you know, something that I think was a good idea. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioner Prinzo?
I just wanted to clarify one thing. I said in the beginning that this was asking council to look at making this an annual fee, and Kathy is right. I took from the Kennedy Warren that it was a one and done, and that's what's in our physical paper that I have drafted. It's not on an annual basis. And then also to Kathy's point, I think I'm gonna add a friendly amendment to my own letter, asking council to also clarify how it would impact current leases for people with existing pet addendums, because I know in my building it's a pet addendum. It's not part of your lease. It's actually technically a separate contract that you enter into with the building, I believe. So I would like to add a bullet point on that. As far as aggressive versus, I think there's a difference between aggressive dogs and dangerous pets. I don't, you know, Humane Society or Humane Alliance, you know, if a dog bites one person in the process of being rescued, I'm not aware of in any circumstance that the Humane Alliance would not, you know, either try to foster that dog or adopt it out at a later date, but it had bit somebody, so therefore it does have a history of aggressive behavior, but it's not technically a dangerous dog. So I know there's a difference between an aggressive pet and a dangerous pet, but you know, I'm assuming dangerous pets don't get adopted out into the wild every day. So you know, we can try to, if we want to like pull this and move it back to committee and try to work on the aggressive pet language. I mean, I will ask Tammy and Janelle or Commissioner Gordon and Packets if they want to put this in planning zoning, but I mean, I don't think there's a reason to differentiate between dangerous and aggressive, because I think dangerous dogs or dangerous pets in general would not be adopted out into the public, whereas a dog that might have bit one person would. Sorry, Lauren.
no, I was going to agree with you, and I apologize for
Oh,
creating confusion with that. I think you're right. I was responding as an animal welfare person
Yeah.
with deep insight into behavioral definitions of aggressive and knowing that that language is very slippery. So that was it. And I apologize. I shouldn't have chimed in. Sorry, y'all.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, no worries, Lauren. I mean, I think it's a valid conversation. I guess I just think like I'm from an ANC level, I'm not sure that like it matters whether we use the word aggressive or dangerous in the sense that like the council would have to take it up and have that much deeper discussion, I think. And I think I would just like surface that it's not even like about like the Humane Society or adopted dogs. Like a lot of times, like dogs from a breeder can be just as aggressive or dangerous. And so, you know, I think it's something to think about as the bill, if it evolves and moves forward, is taken up. But But I think as it's written, I think it's okay to move forward for me.
All right. Commissioner Prinzo, do you have language for your friendly amendment to yourself that you want me to type into the live drafting of this right now?
Yeah, let me just see where you are in this document. I think after point 3, or actually you can make it part of point 3, just say like furthermore furthermore ANC3C asks the committee to look at the impact that this will have on leases that are currently in effect in the District of Columbia, and whether or not people would need to, or instead of people, use the word tenants, would need to change, whether leases would need to be updated for current tenants instead of, sorry.
Okay. Okay, I put that into number 3. In the draft. And you're
Okay.
accepting your own friendly
Yeah.
amendment.
Yes.
All right, does anybody else from the public have, or any other commissioner have comment on this at this time? Okay, I'll motion that we call the question on this and take the vote. Is there a second on taking the vote on this? Commissioner Geis is seconded. All those in favor of the amended ANC3C comments on Council Bill B25-0825, the Pets and Housing Amendment Act of 2024, please raise your hand or say aye. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands are up. We have 1 absence, so there are no votes and no abstentions. So the motion on this letter carries unanimously. Thank you all, and thank everybody and Kathy and Lauren for your comments on this. Appreciate it. All right, the next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report, which I will be handling in Commissioner Siddiqui's stead. There's nothing to be voting on tonight, just announcements. ANC3C will be writing 2 checks to Commissioner Pagets, that's me. One for $177.77 for communications expenses, and one for $370.78 for Zoom. So that was like 2 years of the Zoom account that ANC wasn't paying for, an individual ANC commissioner had to pay for and then be reimbursed. I finally got around to submitting those expenses. And then the $177.75 for communications was for the poster and the banner that we had that will be for future use too at our tabling events that we used for Cleveland Park Day for the first time. None of that included my time and talents designing any of those things, but we had voted on approving these expenses at prior meetings just for transparency and clarification during our budget process, and that's why we just need to read out that we're paying them at this time. But communication expense sounded shady to me, so I wanted to be clear. So and thank you all for like Gowan or Commissioner Kripke and the folks in Commissioner Gordon for helping table at that event. Commissioner Prinzo was there too. Like, I think it was awesome. Commissioner Siddiqui and I were in the dunk tank. And I feel like Commissioner McCorson got the best deal of it all where he was judging a competition.
Yeah.
Owes us next time.
Oh, I agree. Totally. That's awesome.
Oh, winner. He was peak.
Yeah. All
That,
right.
that contest though was much closer than people realize.
Okay.
That little boy did not run away with it.
All right. Anybody have any questions on the treasurer's report or comments? Cool. With that, we move to the final item, which is adjournment.
Can I motion to adjourn this meeting?
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. Thank you all. I appreciate it. See you next month.